Good evening from Los Angeles, California. I'm Dr. Ryan Ava. Well, it was as bad as it looked. In fact, it was even worse. In the Trump years of American life, many of us have had the opportunity to feel that. And this new example of Donald Trump misconduct in office is no exception. This time it comes directly from the former United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Arguably the most powerful and active district in the entire country. For 2.5 years, that man you see, Geoffrey Berman, served as the head of that district during the Trump administration. Berman has written a new book out yesterday in which he details several instances when the disgraced, twice impeached former President Donald Trump abused the power of the Department of Justice, as Berman told Rachel Maddow on MSNBC on Monday night. Trump and his DOJ repeatedly tried to use the Southern District to protect his allies and punish his enemies.
I wanted people to understand the full scope of the outrageous and improper political interference by Trump's Justice Department in the cases of the Southern District of New York. It demonstrates what Trump is capable of and what he's likely to do, and it also provides a frontline view of just how vulnerable our justice system is. And Trump turned the department into his own personal law firm. He put in people who would do his bidding, and they would, target Trump's political enemies and assist Trump's friends. And it was a disgrace.
As Rachel Maddow correctly pointed out, Berman did sound the alarm at the time, unlike many others who kept tight lips until their books came out. And of course, Trump's behavior and misconduct is no surprise. In fact, targeting political enemies was one of his promises during his campaigns, or arguably the central theme of Trump's 2016 campaign. We all recall when he called for his opponent Hillary Clinton to be locked up and even replace his first Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, after Sessions failed to lock the right people up. And Trump routinely berated him for doing so on Twitter. Geoffrey Berman's account from his time in the Southern District leave no doubt that behind the scenes, it was even worse than that. The disgraced former president's second Attorney General Bill Barr and other senior officials of the Department of Justice would actually call up Berman's office and explicitly tell them who they did or they did not want the Southern District to prosecute. Berman recalls one instance in September 2018, 2 months before the midterm elections, when a DOJ official called his deputy. As the New York Times describes it, quote, after citing the recent prosecution of 2 prominent Trump loyalists, the official said the office, which has been investigating Gregory B. Craig, a powerful Democratic lawyer, should charge him, and do so by election day, end of quote. According to Berman, the official told his deputy, quote, it's time for you guys to even things out, end of quote. According to New York Times, quote, when Berman's office declined to prosecute Mr. Craig, the department sent the investigation to federal prosecutors in Washington, where Mr. Craig was indicted, tried on a single count of making false statements, and he was acquitted by a jury in less than 5 hours, end of quote. Berman also details what happened when Bill Barr tried to push him out.
I knew at the time that if Barr got me out the way he wanted to, he would put an outsider in that office who he trusted, and our sensitive investigations that were going on would have been jeopardized. And so, I was very noisy. I told the entire country what I thought Barr was doing and how he crossed the line. And I think because of that very noisy exit, as you said, Audrey Strauss took over as acting U.S. attorney, and she's a person of the highest integrity and an icon of the New York bar.
Now, in the end, Barr did fire Berman, but Berman was able to put his trusted deputy in charge, and as he told Rachel Maddow on Monday night, the reason for that was exactly what it looked like. Berman was a threat to Trump and his agenda.
How was your work as U.S. attorney a threat to Trump's reelection?
Well, at the time I was fired, the Southern District of New York was working on a couple politically sensitive cases. One of those cases is the Steve Bannon We Build the Wall case. And we were very close to indicting that case around the time I got fired, and Barr knew about the case. And as you know, that case was indicted by the Southern District of New York, by Audrey Strauss, who took over as acting U.S. attorney after I was fired. And she brought that prosecution. And then, President Trump pardoned Steve Bannon, which was an outrageous pardon. But that's one of the cases that we were investigating, and we were very close to indicting. And the other case was the Ukraine investigations arising out of the Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman indictments. And that was something that we had been investigating for quite a while, and we continued to investigate for quite a while. And both of them were very sensitive.
Now, as Berman mentions, the case against Steve Bannon has become notorious. After Berman was fired, federal investigation against Bannon continued. In August 2020, U.S. coastal inspectors arrested Bannon aboard a Chinese billionaire's yacht in Long Island Sound. He was charged with fraud and subsequently was pardoned by Donald Trump in Trump's final hours in the office. That happened after January 6th and after all Bannon did to promote the coup. That pardon, however, does not preclude Bannon from facing state charges, and just last week he was charged by Manhattan District Attorney with essentially the same crimes related to alleged scheme to defraud donors to his We Build the Wall organization. And it looks like the prosecutors in New York have much of the same evidence against Bannon as the Department of Justice had. Now, the other investigation that Berman cites as being particularly threatening to Donald Trump's re-election is the scandal around the disgraced ex-president's attempt to pressure Ukraine into investigating his then political opponent, Joe Biden. The two names Berman mentions, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, they were associates of Trump's personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani, who basically ran errands for Giuliani. They helped Giuliani his pressure campaign with Ukraine officials. According to Lev Parnas, they took their orders from Giuliani. In a 2020 interview, Parnas told Rachel Maddow he did not do anything without the consent of Giuliani or Donald Trump personally. Now, Lev and Igor both have been sentenced to prison time for their roles in the scheme, but Giuliani is walking around free. Well, we know that he was also under investigation by the Southern District of New York as of 2019. In April of last year, the FBI searched his home and office and seized his phones and computers. 2 months later, a federal judge appointed a special watchdog to review the seized materials and recommend what prosecutors could review. Still, nothing has come with this investigation, though. Just last month, the Times reported Giuliani is unlikely to face any charges. But Giuliani, like Steve Bannon, seems incapable of keeping himself out of legal trouble. While he may avoid charges in that Ukraine scheme, he is now a target of a criminal investigation to election interference in Georgia, where he actively attempted to overturn their election. There is every reason to believe the current January 6 federal investigation, which is growing larger and larger by the day, end up on Giuliani's doorstep as well, given how intimately involved he was with helping Donald Trump plan and execute the insurrection. But of course, here's the thing, if Donald Trump were to be re-elected, none of this would matter. That's the explicit promise of another Trump term. There would be more billboards at the Department of Justice, probably even more craving figures than Barr, and more Rudy Giuliani's and more Steve Bannon's, and there will be fewer Geoffrey Bermans standing up to do the right thing. They would be replaced by MAGA authoritarian lackeys willing to convert the government into a ruthless weapon for Trump's personal use and power. And there will be no one standing in his way. That is also the explicit warning for people like Berman, who has now joined the legions of those who have left the circle of Trump's influence to warn in the loudest, clearest voice possible that this is exactly as bad as it looks. To support my work, please click the subscribe, the like button, and the notification bell so you wouldn't miss any of my new videos.